Hello, I am doing a second video today. I'm still talking through the missions for the Danish Nationals from the Danish Nationals Preliminary Mission Pack. Um, Again, we're dealing with a book mission. We have taken some of the book missions that we felt like and could hear from the community and have experienced outside of the Danish community that people regard as being fair enough to use in tournaments. Um, this one is envelopment. Now, this is a bit of an odd one because in envelopment you have an attacker and a defender. So the first thing that you're doing is you're rolling off to figure out who gets to be the attacker and who gets to be the defender. And choose carefully. Choose very carefully. If you have, and before you choose, look at the opponent's army and at your own. If the opponent has a very immobile army, you might want to be the defender because his immobile army will have a hard time getting across the table, which is what you have to do in envelopment. In envelopment, you score points for units destroyed. You score points if you're the attacker for being in the defender's deployment zone or for leaving the table via his table edge. So if you can push as an attacker, if you can push down and into the opponent's deployment zone or out of his edge, you are winning. However, the defender will score double points for killing your units. So the whole game here is one of figuring out what the enemy's army is capable of doing. If he has a lot of transports, if he has a lot of vehicles, he is mobile. Then he can push down and push into you. So you will want to make sure that your enemy's army is not doing what it's supposed to do. Then figure out what your army wants to do. So, and there are some armies. For instance, I play Brits, right? I am building my Czechoslovakians, but I play my Desert Brits most of the time. Now, Brits really enjoy being the attacker in this scenario because there is what's called preparatory bombardment. And a British preparatory bombardment is better than an ordinary one. Instead of just rolling one die, I get to roll two as British and pick the best one. So I have a better chance of killing stuff on a preparatory bombardment. And the attacker gets preparatory bombardment in this scenario on a 2+. So I might choose, simply because I'm British, to be the attacker. But if I'm facing a very immobile army, maybe an army with a lot of artillery, maybe an army with a lot of infantry that hasn't really got any transports, I will choose to be the defender simply because what he is supposed to do gets really, really difficult if he's not very mobile. You should also look at the table and figure out, is this a table that's really suited for moving up? So table, your list, the opponent's list, all of that is in play when you figure out whether you want to be attacker or defender. That's why I say that attacker or defender in this scenario is maybe the most important choice you're making. And it is an evaluation of those three factors of the two lists and the table. Because some tables will be difficult to move through. There'll be a lot of rough ground. There'll be a lot of lines that block the table. That's difficult to move through. Some tables will be more open and will give your trucks maybe the opportunity to move through. I have, right, for my Desert Brits, I have trucks. This is a 30 CVT. This is brilliant for envelopment. A truck like this, loaded up with a lieutenant, then run 24 inches into the table. Now I'm 24 inches from the other edge. If I can get the first die, this one is out. So, and that's not 1 point for the truck and 1 point for the lieutenant. That's 3 points per dice you're taking out. So trucks on open tables are really dangerous for a defender. You need to shut that down as quickly as possible. So that's the choice. A difficult choice and an interesting one, and a very tactical one, and where you really can show that you understand lists, that you can read a list, and that you can understand and read a table. Now, once you deploy, the attacker deploys via reserves or first wave, not outflank, reserves or first wave. Hint, as an attacker, there's really no reason to have reserves. It doesn't really make sense because you want to get up the table. Why would you keep people out of the table if you want to move up the table? That makes no sense to me. So usually what you'll see is attackers moving everything in on first wave, just everything in. And since the first turn the opponent is most likely pinned down, you can really push up the table that first turn as an attacker. I have won this scenario simply by pushing one jeep 24 inches up the table, and the next turn seeing if I get the first die. If I do, out it goes. You can win that way. So, of course, if the opponent gets the first dice, or if he's been clever and gone on ambush, that will be more difficult, right? I've also lost jeeps that way. So, but you can, as an attacker, have 50% of your army in reserves. I see no reason to do this. Almost in no scenario would you need to do this. The defender has to set up at least 50% of his army, which is also a thing to keep in mind. You have to set up 50% of your army. If your army has a lot of transports and vehicles, they are in danger that first turn from the preparatory bombardment. So you might want to be attacker simply because you have vehicles, right? You definitely, as the defender, do not want to set your vehicles on the table in the deployment, because they are really vulnerable. If the opponent rolls that 6, they will get hit in the top with a heavy mortar or something. It's bad, right? It's a 3 or 4 plus in the top. It's a pretty good chance you're gonna die. So don't do that if you can avoid it. Now, a good trick as the defender is keep some stuff that's hard-hitting in reserves. Once you see where the attacker is pushing up, then try to come in from your reserve and counter that, right? But you can only have 50% of your army in reserves. The defender can also use forward deployment. I'm not sure that's necessary in this scenario, although if you do have like an artillery observer or a sniper, you might just keep them just outside your deployment zone, simply so that they don't get hit by that preparatory bombardment. If you have Soviet scouts, you might also like close down lanes of approach with your veteran SMG-toting scouts. So that might also be an idea. Yeah, one final tactical bit of don't tell this to my opponents, but you might actually play this scenario as a kill point scenario. You don't need to push as the attacker. If you can kill 2 of the enemy's units and not lose any of your own, then you're going to win. It's dangerous, and it's really easy for the opponent to get back in the game because he gets 2 points per killed unit where you get 1 point. But you can do this. And it's especially good if you kill those 2 units first turn while everything is sort of shot up from the preparatory bombardment, right? You kill those 2 units and then just step back. He has half his army in reserves, The other half is pinned down for the first turn. He's not going to be able to attack you. So as the attacker, you can win this really easily by doing that. As the defender, you should try to avoid this. You should try to avoid this like the plague. It is really, really dangerous for you to lose 2 dice in the first or second turn, especially if you're not taking any of his dice. So try to make sure that your units are safe as the defender for the first and the second turn. It's really, really important. Also, try to shut down. If there's a road going out your side of the table, place something on that road, because that's an obvious invitation for the enemy to have a wheeled vehicle, a jeep, one of my jeeps, right? Just rush out. So try to make sure that you place something to block that road. Infantry is good, especially because, I mean, a tank will not be able to charge, like tank rush your infantry in the first turn, maybe not even the second, even though there's a road. Yeah. Those are my ideas for how to play envelopment. Good luck. Cheers.